feel free to ask questions along the way as well. I guess it's, how many of us are there? Nicole, do you know how many of us there are right now?
Right now we've got 27.
Okay. So maybe we could see, Heather, I don't, if you want people to post questions in the chat, would that be easiest?
Yeah, let's do that. And then we can answer your questions at the end. But if you've got anything, please go ahead and start posting questions.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is who we are. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself again. My name is Lydia Raya, and I'm an advisor on the computer science side. Several years ago, I was also an EECS advisor, and now I'm just CS, and I'm the lead advisor for transfers and student parents.
And I'm Heather Levine. I've worked at Berkeley. I've been at Berkeley. I was an undergrad student here. I was a grad student here. And I've worked for EECS on and off since I was an undergrad student. And obviously I can't take a selfie and my picture isn't nearly as good as Lydia's, but anyway, there it is.
It's a great picture. Okay, so right off the bat, we want you to know where you can go because it's probably going to be a lot of information today. So these are some helpful links with where you can find information about both majors. So the first link for the EECS major, that is on the EECS department website. And then the second link is on the College of Engineering website. They have a helpful junior transfer section and an FAQ section. And Nicole is going to be sharing the links with you. So thank you, Nicole, for doing that. And then for the computer science major, and sorry, I'm getting over being sick, so sorry if I'm a little hard to understand. For the computer science major, the first link is on the EECS department website again. And then the second link is the Office of Undergraduate Admissions website. So those are really helpful places to get information about the major and about admissions. So while you are at community college, you are definitely able to talk to department advisors. We are very happy to answer, whether it's by email or by appointment, we can meet with you. So, but there are specific topics that we talk about, and then we might refer you if we don't have that information. So one key thing to realize is Heather and I and our team, we are not involved in the admissions process. So, if you have questions about like the personal insight questions or, what to put on your application, how many students are admitted every year, those questions are really better for admissions. So we would really encourage you to reach out to them. They do have virtual office hours, phone, you can go to their office. Email is probably not the best way to reach them because they probably get flooded with emails. But they are available for admissions specific questions. If you have other questions like what classes will I be taking once I transfer, or I'm taking this college or I'm taking this class at DVC, is that going to transfer? Those kinds of questions we can definitely talk about. And so the link is here that just brings you to all the advisors, and then there's ways to book appointments with us. And then also, if you don't want to make an appointment, sometimes the appointments can take a couple weeks to, we book out up to 2 weeks. So if we're not available and you just have a quick question, definitely feel free to email us. The first alias here is more to, if you're interested in computer science. The second one is, it will reach the EECS advisors.
It's sometimes kind of hard to tell what's a non-admissions question, so feel free to ask us, if if you're not sure, and we'll refer you.
Yes, that's definitely a great point. If you are unsure, just ask away, and we will always refer you. So there's a question about veteran students and if there's a resource for you. So there definitely is. There's a veteran student center on campus, and so you will definitely want to be connected with them once you transfer. So one thing that's kind of confusing about our department and the majors is our department is called EECS, Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, and we have two majors within our department. One of the majors is also called EECS, and the other major is called Computer Science. So when I'm referring to the EECS website, that is encompassing both EECS and computer science. So for those interested in computer science, if we say EECS a lot, it's because that's our department name. But both majors have a home in our department, and we share all resources together, all workshops, internship fairs, everything is for all students. You take the same classes together. And not many departments across colleges have EECS together. So that's something kind of unique about Berkeley. But here's, kind of a visual for why it's together, because there are some things that's, very clearly electrical engineering, very clearly CS, but there's a lot of overlap, especially these days. So our department not only has the EECS major combined together, but we also have computer science.
And I'm an EECS advisor as well as the CS advisor. And the question I get a lot is, if I'm an EECS student, can I focus on CS? And the answer is absolutely. Once you finish your lower division, the kind of basic classes, then you can focus on CS upper division courses just the way that you would if you were a CS major.
Okay. This line has a lot of text, sorry. So for those of you who are still trying to determine which major is the right one for you. So one thing to keep in mind is that the computer science classes and sometimes the electrical engineering between the EECS and CS majors are basically the same. The differences are more in the non-EE and CS classes that you take. So for example, so the EECS major, and I have a visual later to kind of show this. The EECS major, you do need to take two lower division EE courses, which are EECS 16A and B, where the computer science major can choose between EECS 16A and Math 54. Most students will do Math 54 because that one is offered at community college. There are, I think, 2 schools now, maybe working on 3, that have an EECS 16A equivalent. One class or one school, I think, is a partial equivalent. But the computer science major does not need to take that second electrical engineering course. They don't have to take EECS 16B. Since EECS is housed in the College of Engineering, it's going to be a more traditional engineering education. You're going to need to take more physics. You're required to take multivariable calculus. And the general education requirements are not quite as what we would say holistic. EECS also does not accept IGETC. So I imagine a lot of you are working on IGETC. You'll want to work closely with your community college counselor to ensure that you're also meeting the College of Engineering requirements, because if you just complete IGETC, you're not going to be fulfilling everything for College of Engineering. Whereas the computer science major is housed in a different college. So that college is called the College of Letters and Sciences. You do not need to take physics or multivariable calculus, and you can complete IGETC for this major. So the CS and EE classes are pretty similar, but it's those other classes where more of the differences come in. And then here's another slide for a comparison. Heather, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'm seeing on this question about for EECS, just assist.org, that would be correct. And yeah, and we can talk to any of you about assist.org if you have any questions. So for more differences between the two majors, EECS, if you have that major, you're going to wind up with a Bachelor of Science. For CS, the way it has been, you would wind up with a Bachelor of Arts. There is some change happening now. We probably don't want to get into that, but anyway, that's the way it has been. There are more similarities between the two majors. As I said before, the upper division coursework for the majors can be nearly identical, although if you're interested in the electrical engineering side, you also have even more of that option with EECS. At this point, neither program is accredited at the department level. The university itself is accredited. Students graduate and are hired at the same companies for computer science. If you do EE related work, then of course you go up and do somewhat different companies. And they go to the same graduate programs.
Okay, this is brand new for this admission cycle. So I'm not sure how many of you are applying this fall to enter Berkeley fall 2023. But if you are, then you'll want to pay attention to this slide. And this is actually now another similarity between the two majors. So in the past, students who applied to the College of Letters and Sciences were admitted as undeclared. Whether you were, so when we call that college L&S. L&S houses tons and tons of majors. That's the same college where math is, data science, English, theater, history, tons of majors. And everyone who is admitted to that college is undeclared. And then each department or major has their own way of declaring a student, and it requires completing, a set of classes and with a GPA requirement. So from computer science up until now, that's how we've been declaring students after they are admitted to UC Berkeley. Beginning with this admission cycle, students who choose CS on their application to Berkeley and are admitted will be declared at the time of admission to UC Berkeley. So there's no more declaration policy. This is how the EECS major has always worked. So if it seems like this is going to be a good thing. This is a pilot that we're trying just for transfers. And I think that this should be a good thing because the declaration process is stressful. You have to take 3 classes, get a 3.3 GPA in them in order to become a CS major. And as a transfer student, you don't have a lot of time to do this. So instead, now you choose CS on your application. And if you're admitted to Berkeley, you're admitted as a CS major from the start. One very strong caveat here is if you want to declare computer science, admissions is very, very strongly recommending that you put it on your application at the time when you're applying to Berkeley. If you put something else, like data science, like math, like, economics, and then you decide you want to switch to computer science later after you are admitted to Berkeley, there will be a very small, what they're calling discoverer path for students who didn't put CS when they applied to Berkeley. But it's, again, it's going to be very small. And the review process is going to be done at the Office of Admissions. So we really have a lot of information on what this, how long the process will take. So again, this is why we're really encouraging students, if you want to study CS, then you'll want to put CS on your application. Again, because we are not involved in admissions, if you've not heard of this yet, you heard about the GPA requirement before, this might be bringing up a lot of questions. And sorry, we don't have a lot of answers to those questions because this is so new. I'm working on updating our website because our website also has old information. But definitely reach out to admissions. I see there's a question about double majoring. Great question. This one, I do know the answer, sort of, for. Say you applied to UC Berkeley and you're admitted as data science. And then you say, I would like to do a double major with computer science. So that is possible, but that would also be subject to that admissions review process. And so it's unclear how many students are going to be admitted that way. Oops. Okay. Is this slide blank?
Oh, that's interesting.
Why is that happening? All right. I might need to work on that. Heather, do you want, I think there's a question. Maybe do you want to answer that while I'm.
I saw the beginning of that. Okay, wait, okay. Okay, I think that's, okay, the question is, I see that there's an alternate major that we can choose on the UC application. How does Berkeley consider that alternate major, i.e. applying to EECS and putting CS as alternate? Nicole, maybe you have more information about this, but I would say that's more of an admissions question, that we don't get involved in the admissions side of things.
Sure, I'm happy to answer. So this is a brand new thing for UC Berkeley this year. Historically, we haven't asked for an alternate major. And my understanding is that this process was added to account for direct admission to the business school only. So outside of applying to the business major, your alternate major won't be considered. Unfortunately, they haven't made that clear on the application, but we will be reviewing your applications for the listed major only. So if EECS is your priority, put that first. If CS is your priority, put that first. But there's no guarantee that alternate majors will be reviewed in the fall 2023 admission cycle.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Nicole works for the College of Engineering on all things related to transfer students. So thank you. All right.
For now, I'm just going to share my screen with the slide like this.
We'll do that.
I don't know what happened, but.
Oh, yeah, that was there this morning.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Oh, was there another question actually?
Yeah. There are a bunch of other questions. Do you want to go ahead and we'll go back to questions?
If there's a lot, we could take a break because we are doing really well on time. So here, I'll stop sharing.
Differences in career opportunities for people with the BA versus the BS. I mean, I would have to go look at data on that. Nicole, do you know specifics about that? I haven't gone to look at data.
I don't think there's a big difference besides the fact that you're more likely to see software folks maybe in the CS side, or sorry, let me back that up. More likely to see some hardware folks graduating from the EECS major and pursuing PhD programs in electrical engineering or like similar majors like mechanical or bio. I always refer students to the Career Center website. They have a survey called the First Destination Survey, where you can look up the very first job that students go to when they're graduating. And it's completed, I think, in like March. So some students haven't confirmed their job yet, and it doesn't account for people changing careers or taking a gap year. But you can go there and see the difference between like data science, CS, Mechie, and what kinds of jobs or graduate programs those students are going to right out of college. But I think ultimately, you know, both majors, you're taking the same classes, you have access to the same opportunities. So there isn't a big difference.
Yeah, that was kind of my sense of it too.
Yeah, I think, you know, maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago, there was still the CS versus EECS was seen as much more different. But now, I mean, the recruiters don't care. And we're talking about CS again. Like Nicole was saying, usually the more EECS inclined students are going to be majoring in EECS, but still, you know, we have some CS students because you can actually fulfill many units of upper division with EE classes, and they'll still count for the CS major. We just don't have as many of those students, but for CS, I mean, Google, Facebook, Amazon, any company, they really don't care. It's more about the skills that you can show in an interview. They really care about, you know, what you can actually do. Students get the same internships, again, are admitted to the same graduate programs. I think, you know, we surveyed the CS students, it's been several years now, so we should do it again, but I think it was something as high as, is it 90% or 85% of students are graduating and going into industry, and then it was like maybe another 5 to 10 who are going to grad school. So all that is to say that CS students are highly desirable and very much sought after. And the differences that maybe existed a long time ago are really irrelevant now.
You are breadth outside of your major that you're required to do a little bit more in terms of your breadth requirements. So I don't know. I think some employers value that diversity in your background.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Like before in a previous slide, how we were talking about EECS, because it's in the College of Engineering, having a more traditional engineering background, it is going to be possibly a smaller variety versus in computer science, because it's in letters and science. And we have a technical elective for the major. You do have a technical elective for the EECS major, but it's within engineering, and the technical elective for CS could be in psychology, for example, or cognitive science, or engineering, or math, or theater. Like there's a lot of classes we've had evaluated. So they are technical courses, but CS can be, like Heather was saying, more what's the word? You said it.
Interdisciplinary, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Janelle had a question, is the
Yeah,
alternate, sorry.
I'm not sure what TAP certified is.
Because Berkeley doesn't do TAP, right?
No, if you're talking about the one where you get guaranteed admission, we don't do that. Berkeley's not a campus that does that.
I think we're the only campus.
Okay, Adam, this question is probably meant for admissions, but does anyone know if applying to transfer your admission is based off your transferable GPA or total GPA? I do know. That would be for the Office of Admissions. TAP is different from TAG. Oh, Nicole is answering. Thank you, Nicole. And she gave the link for the first destination survey. Thank you. All right, I think we're caught up.
Okay. Wow. I don't know about where you guys are, but it is really pouring outside where I am.
Oh, I was thinking, what is that water sound? I can't even recognize it anymore.
Wow.
I thought it was my heater.
I know. I'm just not used to seeing rain ever. Okay. There's another question.
You have another one. I am not sure whether this is a question that you can answer, but I am taking duplicate for Berkeley because there is a different agreement between UCs. I am kind of wondering whether this will, I don't quite understand this question. You are taking duplicate, what?
Does that mean you're taking the same class twice?
Oh, duplicate class.
Could you, it probably would need to be an admissions question, but could you give an example of like what the class actually is?
I can answer that really broadly.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
It is concerning in an application if there are too many withdrawals or like late drops. So if you're taking the class and you're planning to drop it and it's going to show on your transcript, meaning, you know, you're not shopping and dropping the first couple of weeks, but you're dropping it late in the semester. You know, if it's just one that's not too concerning, I would put a note in the additional comment section of your application explaining why you late dropped a class. If you are dropping them in a way that isn't going to show on your transcript, we have no way of knowing that you did that. So that doesn't matter. But I don't think there's any harm, especially because it is so related to your major. Data structures is probably the only articulated course offered at your campus, to put in the additional comments, hey, I late dropped this class because I was taking it at 2 different campuses, or you know, for this reason, just so that we don't get concerned that you have a pattern of overexerting yourself and then having to late drop courses.
Okay. Maybe I'll share my screen again, but these are really great questions. I'm glad people are asking.
How many W's are too many? Probably depends on the circumstance.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if they are during spring 2020, summer, fall 2020, like, we offer more grace, right? Because we understand that we all have been and continue to live through a global pandemic. But if you have a pattern of just like taking on way too much and then dropping the classes that you do poorly in, you know, that's going to concern the faculty. At Berkeley, there's a limit to how many late classes you can drop, and it's low. So if this is something you've been in the pattern of, whether it's excused or not, I would encourage you to try to avoid that and explain it in the additional comment section of the application, you know, especially if there are, you know, excused reasons. If you've been experiencing a medical thing, family things, financial things, let us know as reviewers. But there is no like quantitative number of, oh, you have 2, it's fine. You have 3, your application's damaged.
And that's a good thing, right? Because that means that each student is looked at individually. Okay. So this slide is showing the curriculum for the LNSCS, so computer science major, and on the next slide we'll show the EECS. You're going to notice that the slides look really similar because again, the actual major coursework is almost the same, if not sometimes the same. So on this lower kind of bar with the colorful boxes, this is the lower division coursework that you need to take. And it is pretty prescriptive, meaning like these are the specific classes you will be taking. You do have one choice for in the EECS 16A box. Notice that there's the star saying you can either take EECS 16A or Math 54. Math 54 is linear algebra and differential equations, which is offered at just about every community college, I believe. So most transfers come in having Math 54 done. But I was saying earlier, and actually I'll include a link in just a little bit, but there are more schools now, I want to say at most 3, that have an EECS 16A either equivalent or partially equivalent class. So if you are a little more EECS inclined, but doing the CS major, you could look into maybe that route. But then the first computer science class that you would be taking generally is CS 61A. This is structure and interpretation of computer science programs. This is offered at a few schools. Probably the most common we see that students take it who transfer in is from Laney College. That's close to us over here, part of the Peralta schools. CS 61B is data structures, and that's either fully or partially found at several schools. In fact, let me just send the link right now. I think I have it. This is the CS transfer website, by the way. So we have this chart here where we've gone through, this is basically assist, but for the CS major. So this is going to show you like, where can I find a 61A equivalent? Where can I find a 61B equivalent, etc. Assist is great, but you have to go one by one by school. So this will get you there a lot faster. And it was just vetted recently. So this is up to date. And there's been more actually 61C equivalents added. So that's really great. And because I work closely with getting classes evaluated, that's why I know about the EECS. I should just change this to EECS. EECS 16A, the recent classes that were evaluated there, I don't think that they've been added yet. So they're in the works. But anyway, that's a helpful resource. And let me go back to the slide. Here we go. And then CS 70 is a special class. It's CS, but it's discrete math. So most community colleges are going to offer an equivalent to Math 55, which is the math department's discrete math class. And if you want to take that, great. It's probably a good idea. However, that class will not transfer. So if you look up that class in Assist, it's going to show that it's equivalent to Math 55, but Math 55 is not to CS 70. I've asked transfers at Berkeley who took Math 55 at community college, like, would you recommend doing it? And they usually say yes, like it was helpful to have taken discrete math before CS 70. CS 70 is kind of its own beast, but having some prep work ahead of time, I'm sure is helpful. Just know that taking a Math 55 equivalent is not going to transfer. And then again, you can choose between EECS 16A or Math 54. Most students come in with a linear algebra differential equations equivalent, so that one is done. The boxes or the rectangles on top, this is talking about the upper division coursework. So lower division, again, those 61 series, CS 70, EECS 16A, or Math 54. Those are lower division. Lower division means any course numbered from 1 to 99. It's also community colleges only offer lower division coursework. And then upper division is going to be when you get to classes numbered 100 to 199. And then fun fact, graduate coursework is in the 200s. So earlier I mentioned that the lower division is going to be more prescriptive, like here are the exact classes you need to take. When it comes to the upper division, it's kind of choose your own adventure. These are the various areas that we have in our department. So theory, artificial intelligence, machine learning would be included in there, graphics, et cetera, et cetera. And then there are classes that each go in those rectangles. But it's up to you which of those classes you want to take. You have a unit requirement to fulfill. It's 20 units. And you get to pick and choose. So it's kind of an experiment. And then there's also the tech elective that you will need to choose too, but that would be outside of CS. That's what I was talking about earlier, you know, maybe philosophy or business or economics. So that is the CS major kind of in a nutshell. Are there any questions about that before Heather goes over the EECS major? I'm guessing Heather, we have the same issue with the next slide, so I'll just stay here.
Okay, so here you can see how similar they are. That you've just got, instead of the Math 54 alternative for 16A, you need to take 16A and then you follow on with 16B. I also wanted to say that some of the classes in the upper division really strongly encourage you to take 16A. If you've taken Math 54 and you feel like you want the circuits portion of EECS 16A, we do have what's called a bridge course that would teach you the circuits portion of 16A. So you can do that for 1 unit. So you finish the lower division. For EECS, you have not only the EECS advisors in the department, you'll have an advisor in the College of Engineering called your ESS advisor, who will be working with you closely. They want you to finish all of your lower division coursework before you begin your upper division coursework. And they'll want you to take at least 2 lower division, well, 2 tech courses per semester until you've finished your requirements. And they would be talking to you about this before you begin at Berkeley. And then you've got the same set of upper division courses available to you that you would have in the CS department. There are also other requirements that are slightly different. If you're an EECS major, you have to take an ethics requirement. Your tech elective is slightly different, as Lydia mentioned before, that it needs to be in engineering. But there are a lot of similarities here. And again, you get to pick your own path in the upper division. Some people choose to really focus on the electrical engineering side. A lot of people choose to focus rather specifically on the CS side, and some people find themselves kind of crossing in the middle here. Are there any questions?
Oh,
That's what it was. It's one of those ones that you can click, click, click and make them come up. I forgot about that.
so this is because I stole these slides from another presentation. I didn't make this, so okay. Well, we saw them. Oh, and it's not quite 11 yet, so let me take that off. Let's see. It seems like We have some time before our transfers join us. So either we could take a quick break, or, people can put questions in as they come in.
Nicole, have you already had a chance to plug your summer program with this group?
I have. I've been plugging it nonstop. But if anyone doesn't know, we have a summer research program for community college students. And we actually have at least 2 of our participants from this summer on campus. Oh, sorry, on the call today. Half of our cohort study computer science, and we have our first info session tonight at 7 p.m. back on Zoom. So you can register at the link I just put in the chat. I'm also getting more DMs about the recording of this. So as a reminder, the recording of this webinar and the other 10 that we've had over the last 6 weeks will be available at engineering.berkeley.edu/CC. In the next week, you'll actually all be receiving an email from our Dean of the College of Engineering, sharing that link when it's live and reminding you to apply and sharing information about a fee waiver, as well as my contact information. So we will blow up your email when the recordings are available. We just have to get them captioned first so that they're accessible.
Wonderful.
I have a question come in. Are fully articulated classes viewed as the same as partially articulated when transfer? Do you mean the same from an admission standpoint, or like how the class will actually transfer as coursework? So it's my understanding that, from the admission side, it's my understanding that if your community college offers any sort of partially or fully articulated classes to whatever major you're applying for, you want to take it. You are not going to be penalized or punished if your school only has a partially articulated class. If that's what your school has, that's fine, but it's going to strengthen your resume, or sorry, your application to take what's available to you, because also that demonstrates your ability in this major that you want to study. But it's not your fault that, say DVC doesn't offer, a 61A equivalent, but Laney does, or one school offers partially equivalent to data structures and a different school that's you can't access offers a fully articulated one. So I would just think of it more as whatever assist says is partially or fully articulated. Those are definitely the class in the required coursework. That is what you want to be taking. And yes, if you take, some students do one community college, some students do multiple, especially like students coming from LA, and there's 3 or 4 schools in the LA Community College District. Students who are in the Peralta schools, they go to all of them, or they don't even have to be in the same district, but it's definitely fine if you're attending more than one school. A lot of students have to do that because their English class suddenly is not offered one semester, and then they need to go find it somewhere else if it's local or if it's online. Yeah, so that's definitely okay. There was a question earlier. I have taken a class at my local community college, but I took a similar class again at another community college since it was fully articulated there. I hope the admissions can see the fully articulated class. I mean, I think if you've taken both of them, then they will both be on your transcript when you apply.
Yeah, we'll see both. We'll actually go to assist.org for both campuses and evaluate which classes you fulfilled.
So the GPA question for students who've been admitted in the past, that would be an admissions question. And then do you recommend students take a series at one school versus different schools? So this actually is on the assist.org reports when you run them, that if it's a series like linear algebra and differential equations, oftentimes those are split into 2 classes at community college. You want to take those at the same school. We have talked with the math department, and if it's a like Berkeley City College and Laney are in the same district, the math department is okay with that. So we accept that too, but I would verify with admissions that they look at it the same way. But if you're, I definitely would not try, one at Laney and one down in San Diego, because those are entirely different. And the reason for that is if a class is split in 2, there's no way to know that where one class left off, the next one's gonna, start nicely. So they want to make sure there's no gap in the knowledge. Good questions. Is there any? Oh, Carlos is here. Awesome. Hi, Carlos.
Hello.
Hi. So we have, and I don't think Michelle has joined yet, but that's okay. Because
Should we stop sharing screen?
oh yeah, good idea. Everyone, we have our first current transfer joining us. Carlos, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Carlos. I'm on my 3rd semester now. I transferred a year ago from Maloney College, and it's been my pleasure to be here for like the 3 semesters that I've been in here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Carlos, we're getting a lot of great questions about, kind of classes and application stuff. But now that we have a real live student with us, does anyone want to ask different kinds of questions? Like, what was your first semester like after transferring? How did you find housing? Or, things like that the advisors are just kind of clueless about.
Well, I'll start. I'm curious. What was it like moving? First of all, what year did you transfer? Was it during COVID?
It was on the tail end of COVID, like right after things were starting to calm down a little bit. Then we had the somewhat big spike during the spring. So it was kind of like back in person when I transferred.
So tell us about your first semester. What was that like coming from community college and starting at Berkeley? Was it a big change for you?
I'll say that the biggest thing was like finding and like getting used to the size the class size, because it means that you have to like advocate for yourself a little bit more, right? You have to kind of like start looking for resources and everything on your own. And like, this is just my experience. Maybe other people are gonna have a very different experience. But I had it wasn't as bad of a transition as I thought it was gonna be. There's a lot of like, oh, it's always like it's always a lot of like, oh, there's gonna be like a big change and all of this stuff. And the truth is, the biggest advice that I can give everyone is like, don't try to like do it everything in your first semester. Kind of like get your bearings, because I saw a lot of people struggle because they tried to do everything. They were doing research, or like they were doing like clubs, they were doing a lot of classes, and it just kind of doesn't really work in your first semester. Like I found out that if you have like a light schedule, I took 13 units the first time, and that is kind of the minimum for LNS, and I found those perfect for me because they give me time to kind of go out and be like, oh, I can join a club, I can sort of like get my bearings essentially. And then I think there's a question in chat that I might address, which is like adjusting to the course load. Courses move fast. That is the biggest kind of like difference in here compared to like CC. At least that is my perspective. So you're gonna have to kind of need to be on top of your things. You are gonna need to sort of get a little bit of help if you have to. And the biggest thing that I can like recommend everyone is to like use all of the resources that you have. There's a bunch of resources for every class, at least in the CS department. You have office hours, you have tutoring sections, you have a bunch of stuff that can help you out. So like, don't be afraid to kind of use all of them if you need them. And then so this is one near and dear to my heart, because we're asking about my CC. And the truth is, like, the rigor is gonna be there regardless of the classes that I took in CC. I don't know if you're taking the same professors, Anthony, that I did, but like, it is a change just because you cover so many like different topics like a bit faster. So you kind of have to get used to that. It happens in a semester, so don't worry. Like you get used to kind of the whole system very quickly. It's just those first few weeks that is kind of like a bit surprising of how fast we're moving, how in depth some of the concepts can go. Because most of the times, like, it felt like we were not covering the same things as I did in CC. The truth is we do. It's just they tend to go a little bit more in depth in this class. And honestly, it's great because it also like shows you like all of this amazing different perspectives of like how much like the professors actually prepare and stuff like that. It shows you a bit of the mindset behind that whole thing of the academia and stuff like that. That goes like a bit more in depth, I think, than what I got in CC. You're part of TTE research. I wasn't part of TTE, but in terms of that, I was part of the TAP program. I'm not really, I can give more information about that because I was not part of like TTE when I was in CC.
Nicole is our is TTE open to CS intended students?
Absolutely, yes. Actually, half of our cohort is CS or EECS, and it doesn't matter which one you plan to apply to.
Cool.
Would you recommend scholarships, financial aid to pay for health tuition? Absolutely. Like if you can get scholarships and financial aid, it's gonna make your life a lot easier. Like if you can get them, if you're able to, yes, go for it. They're great. They help a lot, even if like it's not that much. It whatever amount always helps. What extracurriculars? Right. So when I was in CC, I was a math tutor for my CC. I was also an English teacher for adult immigrants. I worked a lot in that area. I was teaching English as a second language for adult immigrants and their children to kind of like help them out. What else? I was doing a bit of work with one of my professors in CC for him. Nothing like super complicated. I was essentially like just working with him to like organize emails and like set up his meetings and stuff like that. So I didn't really have a lot of like super like interesting extracurriculars, I would say. It was just mainly those three things that I did before I transferred out. Also, like I had a couple of projects on my end for like CS, but those were mainly like hobbies. It wasn't like anything that I could actually like say that it was official work. I think that is more of a question for Nicole, which is like if they can still apply for TTE if they're transferring this fall.
No, that student wouldn't meet the eligibility criteria, and I put the link in the chat of all of the full list.
I'll say that I feel like it did. It was really helpful. It was kind of like I cannot like really say how much it helped to like get in stuff like that, but I feel like it helped. The top certification. It was like a plus that I could put in there. So, but like I cannot really speak to like how much it actually helped or not, because I don't know that. So, for the top certification, I talked to one of my community college. There was one of the top ambassadors essentially who like actually got me into the program. So I don't know if this applies for every like community college. I just got in there because one of the ambassadors just kind of reached out to me, and then I just went on from there. Yes.
And how are things going for you this semester?
This semester, it's been great. Like I tried doing more units than like the previous semesters. It actually worked out very well. The classes have been really fun. I'm in my first semester of operatives, so it's been like really fun so far to be able to kind of go more in depth into the different things. I was doing I'm sorry, I'm just reading a question in chat. But yeah, so like it is very like fun to be able to kind of go more in depth into the topics and like be able to like get your own schedule from from a um from from like whatever you want to do, because it's been really great to be able to like explore all of the different areas that we have in here, especially like the EE side, which I didn't really think was gonna be for me. Turns out it is actually like very fun. And being able to like kind of like pick classes the from both of the areas, even though I'm a CS student only, it's been like great. Because I cannot recommend it enough. Like if you like the EE side of like classes, like take them. They're super fun. So there's a question from conditions that you have to meet. If I remember correctly, this might be a question for more for Lydia and Heather. When I transferred out, the only conditions that I got were like all of your grades have to be above a C plus or something like that, if I remember correctly, and like you have to like kind of maintain a good standing with your community college. Those were kind of the main things. So no, they don't require like straight A's or or something crazy like that.
Stressful.
Experience in recruiting. Okay, so I'm gonna make a little plugin to Nicole here because she was like really helpful. I don't know if they're doing it next fall, but there was a whole thing of like transfer link, which was a transfer seminar, super helpful for like recruiting and stuff because it and like actually like getting used to like the Berkeley life. It has been kind of like interesting recruiting. You kind of have to you have a little bit less time compared to your other peers. So there's always going to be kind of this pressure of like, I have to get an internship like next semester, like during the summer, I have to like get all this done. And like, you kind of start to feel a bit behind, which is not true, obviously, but it kind of feels like that. So recurring as a transfer, it's kind of like, because I don't know if this is a thing for everyone, right? I'm just going to talk about my own experience, but you kind of have to use a lot of your own projects because you don't have kind of the catalog of stuff that you would get if you were here since the beginning, right? So you're going to have to use a lot more of what you yourself have done. So if you can do like your own projects, if you can get a cover letter, I believe there's a center here that like the name eludes me, but they help you out with like preparing for recruiting. Then there's also the transfer center, which is like super helpful. They give you tips into like cover letters and all of that stuff. So there's enough resources to you to like get a good cover letter and to be able to like just go in there. It's recruiting as from there on is kind of the same thing. It's like you would get, depending on what you're recruiting for, you would get an invitation to like do the coding parts, and then it's kind of like you do the coding parts, you talk to them for a bit, they do the interviews of like how would you like tackle this problem, etc., etc. So it's kind of, at least so far from the ones that I have done, it's kind of the same structure. It's just getting in there. So just use the resources that you have, and if you can like put personal projects, put like school projects if you need to. Those are like also going to be helpful. I feel I know that is kind of like a point of contention between people. Like some of them tell you to not put them there. I say put them there because you did them on your own, especially for like 61B and like onwards, that you essentially did them without that much guidance. Just put them there. And that is kind of like the pro tips that I can give. Also, like, take advantage of the resources. Again, there's a bunch of resources to help you out, so use them if you can. To feel more prepared before applying to Berkeley. I guess to feel more prepared, like, just the biggest kind of like, and it's gonna sound a bit cliche and blah blah blah, but the biggest kind of advice that I can give you is like, just be confident in what you have done so far before you apply to Berkeley. Like, be confident of like who you are as a person, and like just try to think of what you have done that is important to you. Kind of be able to think about it and be like, this is who I am as a kind of person. And I feel like that really helps out before you're applying, because it helps you out to see like not only how much you have changed as a person, but also what are your like actual interest in. Because I remember when I was like first applying, it's like, oh, like there's the personal insight questions, and there's this whole like idea of like what challenges have you faced and all of this, right? So I would say like in terms of applying, like before applying, just kind of get a little bit more in touch with like who you are, what your struggles have been, and what your journey has been so far, because that's going to really help you out, and like be confident in who you are as a person. That's kind of the biggest thing.
I forget. At your community college, did you transfer any like data structures or any of those classes, or did you take them all at Berkeley?
um so I was able to transfer. This is gonna be a type of like yes and no question, because yes, I was able to like get the credits for 61B, full transfer for all of the credits. I don't think any community college offers an alternative for 70. Otherwise, that would be like very, very in demand. And you have to take 61A here, I believe. I think some colleges do offer like an alternative to 61A.
Yeah, there's a couple that offer 61A, but you have to take 70 at Berkeley.
The reason why I'm saying like yes, I know it's because I did end up taking 61B during the summer just because I wanted the experience from what I saw, and it was kind of like a good time for me because I wasn't doing like anything super heavy in terms of like a full-on internship, like a full-time internship. So I could just like manage both of them at the same time. But yeah, I think I only transfer for 61B, and that was kind of it. Oh, and 16A, which if you're a, I don't know if it still applies, but I think like that should be sufficient this time around, because you don't need to take 16B anymore.
You transferred EECS 16A and not Math 54?
Yeah.
Where'd you take it?
Oloni. So you had to
Right.
the calculus and the differential equations, like linear algebra and differential equations classes. So you need to take both of them, and then that counts as Math 54.
But you did a Math 54 equivalent or an EECS 16A equivalent?
I did a Math 54 equivalent, but I think
okay.
that applied for both.
Yeah, because you only need to take one, right? I think we have a couple more in the chat now.
On average, how many hours do I spend studying? Well, that is an interesting question. And I'm gonna say that really depends on which classes you're taking. My first semester, I think I was fully done with all my classes by like 6 p.m. And that was the latest that I ever did it. And I started at like 2. So it was a very light schedule, I would feel like. This semester, like the on average, it is kind of like, it's not a constant thing. It spikes definitely during like midterm season and like finals. So I would say around like 4-ish, and that's on the high end of like actual like spending studying time. It's more like doing homework and stuff like that. It's not like actually just reviewing stuff. That kind of happens more towards the midterm, and then it's like when I actually start putting like 6 hours of work, like for some of the days, depending on which midterm I'm prepping for. Student life as a transfer, it's actually been a lot more fun. Like student life as a whole, there's this whole idea of like there's a stigma against transfers, which is absolutely not true. Like no one's gonna tell you anything because you're a transfer student. No one's gonna be like, oh no, I'm not gonna like hang out with you because you're a transfer student. That's not true. And it's been like really fun because there's also like this companionship that you can actually get through, like meeting other transfer students, and it's been like super fun. You get to do a lot of stuff. You get to like go to we've gone on hikes, we've gone on like we're planning a trip to Great America and stuff like that. So it's been like very fun. Sometimes it is a bit hectic getting together, especially because of the major and like how much you actually like how much stuff you can get sometimes. But it's been like fun as a whole. And then you can there's a lot of stuff that you can do. There's a climbing like gym close to campus, so you can also do that. Do you think you can work part-time? That is a good question. I know of some friends who are actually working part-time while being a Berkeley student, so it's definitely doable. I cannot give like a yes or no answer because it's also gonna depend on how well like you can adapt first and how big your course load is. But like definitely you can work, or like it is doable to work part-time while also being a Berkeley student. You could also look into some of the like the school jobs, like the work studies, because they're also gonna help you out. I feel they give you a discount for tuition and they also pay you. So that might be another thing to look into if you're trying to like work part-time while also being here. Oh, I'm gonna address this one because this is also like one of those near and dear to my heart, which is like, is it very competitive once you're here? And the truth is, no. Like, there's this whole idea of like, oh, like things are graded on a curve, and so people are gonna try to like sabotage you, and like they're always like one-upping each other. The truth is no. It's been one of the most welcoming, like helpful communities that I've been in. There are always like people that like are gonna go out of their way to help you out. No one's gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna help you out because like I need to get a better grade. That's not happened so far. I'm sure just statistically speaking, there has to be like one person like that. But like so far, I have had a great experience with all of the people here. Balancing life can get a bit tough sometimes, depending on what your course schedule is and like what classes you're taking. The good thing is kind of like even in those times where like balancing life, it's a bit hard. The despite the fact that the classes are really big, you kind of get to know a lot of the people that you're taking classes with. So even if like you don't have the time to go out as much as you did before, it helps because you're still seeing like some of your friends. You're still like hanging out and like you can kind of like complain and something like that together. So it is still there. Like social life is not gonna like go away. It's just gonna be a bit hard to do some of this stuff. And that is only like it depends on your scores on your course schedule. So it's not gonna happen like a bunch of times. Like you kind of get used to some of the harder end of the courses, and then it becomes a bit easier. Um well, I think that is more for like you, Heather, and like Lydia, which is like the physics question. Um I don't know like when they're graduating. I can tell you that I'm taking a fifth semester. That's kind of my own experience. Not only because like I feel like it gave me a lighter course load, but also because it lets you explore a lot more of what the school has to offer. So I'll say if you can like I recommend it because it lets you go out and like explore more of the operatives. There are some the thing that is always like it's a bit of a shame that we cannot do all of them. But if you can, I'm doing a fifth semester and I found it like really helpful to be able to say like, oh, I can get two internships in this semester. I can like actually apply for more research, right? Because I have a year compared to like only one more semester. So I found it like really good if you can. But I don't know the actual statistics of how many of us like EECS transfers are graduating in like 2 years or more. For a lot of the CS oriented classes, is there a focus on programming languages? So there tends to be kind of like a focus on some of the languages. The good thing about the good thing about the classes is that for the most part, once you have a feel of one programming language, it's gonna be like a rather straightforward transition into others because you're just gonna have to like get used to the syntax, and from there on, it's kind of like a bit more of a smooth sailing. I started on C++ when I was in CC, which meant that it translated well for like Java and stuff like that because they're very similar. So for example, 61A, which is kind of the introductory class, well, the introductory class for us transfers, that is a Python class. So it's a lot of like Python language and like how do you use that. You get a bit of I don't know if they're still doing it next semester. I believe they are, but you also get some of regex and other stuff like sprinkling in and scheme. So I'll say like if it's not gonna be like fully necessary that you do it, but if you want to feel better prepared, like just try to learn a little bit of the syntax for like Python, a little bit of the syntax for like Java, because those are the main two languages that you would use here. From there on, it's kind of like it becomes a lot easier after like 61A to kind of get used to other languages rather quickly, because it teaches you how to like approach those like languages and to be able to like get your bearings quickly for the language. So don't stress about like, oh, I have to learn all these languages before I transfer. The truth is no. As long as you're confident or like comfortable with one of them, it's gonna be like not super easy, but it's gonna be like relatively straightforward to transition into like using another language. Do you feel you have received all the support you need as a transfer?
Sorry, Carlos, to just quickly interrupt, since we're almost at time. I think Letty's will be the last question. Thank you so much. You're like the best panelist that's ever been.
My pleasure. So I feel like yes, the big difference here is you're gonna have to, if you want the support, because the school is really big, if you really want to feel all the support that you can get, you're gonna have to put yourself out there. You're gonna have to be the one that kind of advocates for yourself, to be the one that is like, oh, I need help in this, I would like some help in that and stuff like that. It's gonna be very easy because like once you get here, you're gonna see that classes are really big compared to like what we're used to, at least in my case. So if you need support, it's gonna be your kind of your own thing to be able to go out there and have to like, and you have to like advocate and say like, oh, I would like this and I would like that, because it's a bit easy to fall into the cracks of the system, and that's a sad reality. But it's also like once you can get like, I don't know, I had a hard time asking for help. So once you get out of that mindset, you can get a lot of support from all of the resources that are in campus, because they're all there for you. And like if you can just use them, all of them, like even if you don't necessarily feel like you need them, kind of try them for a bit and see how much they actually help you. Because I didn't think I needed the help for like cover letters and stuff like that. There have been a great resource. So there's a lot of resources for you. It's gonna be your job to kind of go there and to get all the support. But yes, you can receive a lot of support from the school.
Okay, well, again, thank you so much to our panelists. Carlos, that was so helpful to have the student perspective. And let me just put this slide up here one more time. We included the links, but just so you see it before we go. You can probably hear my baby crying in the background. So remember, we are very happy to meet with you while you're still at community college before you transfer.